Reuniting families and rebuilding relationships and freedom, that is an essential part of our work. Our last storyteller inspires us and reinforces our commitment to these goals. I'm so excited to introduce you to James Lucien. James was wrongfully convicted of a Boston murder and spent 27 years in prison for a crime he did not commit. Like so many of the people here tonight, James was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole, a sentence that meant that he was supposed to die in prison. And instead, he was exonerated, and he's soon getting married. Please welcome James Lucien to the stage.
Most men would say they feel like a father when they first held their child. While I was there when my child was born, I really felt like a father when he was 2 years old. I just came from work from Strawberry Records, if anybody remembers Strawberry Records. And normally he'll be there waiting for me to give him a shower or bath and tell him a little story, but that night he was asleep, so I woke him up. When I woke him up, he had this smile on his face, like he won $1 million. He had a smile was like from ear to ear. He reached out for me to pick him up, and I picked him up. He gave me this big hug, pulled back, kissed me on my lips, and said, "I love you, Daddy." And whatever stress I was feeling that day, anything that had happened that day, it just melted away. He showed me that unconditional love that my mother used to show me before she died when I was 15 years old. Moved forward a year later, while I was at home, just relaxing, and I heard the doorbell ring. I went downstairs. There was 2 detectives standing there telling me, "Are you James Lucien?" I said, "I am." "Well, we have a warrant for your arrest for first-degree murder." "What?" "First-degree murder. You know what you did." "I didn't kill nobody," I told him. I didn't kill nobody. "Well, turn around." I turned around. Right before I was about to leave, I asked the officer, "Officer, can you do me a big favor?" He said, "What?" "Go upstairs on the dresser. You'll find my Bible, my wallet, and you will find a little frame with a picture of a little boy wearing a black jacket with red stripe. And that was a coat that I bought for my son. Whether you want to know it or not, he's going to tell you, "My daddy bought this. My daddy bought this." We moved forward. Almost 8 months later, I'm at trial, and they found me guilty. On the day of my sentencing, there he was standing there with his mom. I walked into the courtroom. He looked at me. I waved at him. He waved back at me. They said the judge told me to stand up. He read out my sentence. He said first degree without the possibility of parole. To me, that means death by incarceration. After all was said and done, they put the handcuff back on my hand and trying to bring me back to the cell that I was. And before I left, I said, "Officer, can I hug my son for one last time?" I said, "Come here." He gave me a hug. That same little hug that he gave me when he was 2 years old. I said, "I love you, little buddy." He said, "I love you too, Daddy." Went back to my cell. And I vowed that day, I'm not going to let my son to be like I was. I didn't know my father, never knew him. So I'm not going to let that happen no matter what, whether I'm in prison or not. So I vow I'm going to write him every single day, tell him how much I love him, how much I care for him. I want him to behave and be a good boy. I did that. For 10 years straight, I wrote him. Until the last, perhaps, by whole month started, where the letters that I've been writing to him every day, but that for that month, start coming back to me. Return to sender. Return to sender. Return to sender. Mind you, when the guy's in prison, mail and visit is very important. It's give you a sense of hope that people out there still thinking about you. So when that mail keep coming back, I'm asking myself, what's going on? What's going on? Interestingly, it was that same month, around the same time, where I got a letter that I didn't want to receive, but I received it anyway. And it says that my conviction for first-degree murder has been affirmed, adding to my anxiety that I'm going to die in prison. Now I'm not hearing from my son. Everything's falling apart for me. You know, the stress of not, you know, your freedom's been taken from you. The stress now your family's now is taken from you. So with that stress, with that mindset, the hopelessness, frustration. So one morning, going downstairs, going to chow hall, a guy decided he's going to cut in front of me. It had nothing to do with the guy, mind you, but it was the stress. And before we know it, we got into a physical alteration. We were sent to solitary confinement, where I basically said, yo, I did it, so what? I just didn't care anymore. I lost my life. And like 3-4 weeks later, the little slot that they have in the hole, what we call it, opened up, an envelope was thrown in there to me. I pick up the envelope, I automatically know what the signature, not the way the person wrote, I know that penmanship. It was my son's mother's penmanship. And I opened the letter anticipating. In the letter he says, James, me and Terrence moved to St. Louis to be closer to my sister. And I'll write you when we are settled. That sense of hope kept coming back to me. That sense of hope that I gotta keep fighting for this little boy that I love so, so much. And I fought. 17 years, I'm fighting every day, writing letters. Whoever want to hear my story, I'll write them. Eventually, I had a good lawyer, attorney, Dennis Toomey. He was fighting with me too, and he found some answers that eventually proved that I did not commit that murder. I was exonerated on December 7th, 2021. Now, I kind of skipped. There's something very important that I have to point out too. In my writing the letter to my son, he sent me a letter, and I want to read that letter to you guys. This is the first letter he wrote to me. He said, Dear Daddy, you've been far away, and I know I miss you. I know you miss me, and I miss you too. When you get home, we'll be a happy family. We'll have fun. Love you always. Your son, Terrence. Now, me and Terrence, I got home 2 days later. He flew up back from St. Louis, and he was that 6'8". And me, I'm not saying little buddy, I'm like big buddy. He said, Daddy. And you know, surprisingly, that boy, I seen that 2-year-old. I don't see this big man, I see this 2-year-old. He gave me the hug, and I still feel that same hug. Whatever anxiety, the 27 years, me hugging him just melts away. And now, for now, we don't write letters no more. We don't just talk on the phone no more. Now we anticipating every single day how we talk on the phone and get to know each other better, and it feel like, amazing. Me and my son is just like two best friends who went to a long journey. Now we enjoying the fruit of our labor.
Thank you so much, James. James's story demonstrates how love is so much stronger than even the tragedy of wrongful conviction. And it's such an important reason for us to keep fighting for freedom, especially when the fight takes so much longer than it should.